Hi everybody. Okay. Got a new Nautilus. Another new Nautilus to show you. Goes like, it sounds like this. Let's see. So this baby is, I'm wearing my reading glasses, and I'm not reading. This instrument is made, well, you heard the sustain, which comes, partly it's just that this design just tends to really sustain. The top is super mobile, so if you put a little bit of input into the top, it kind of goes for a long time. But this is Cocobolo, and Cocobolo is a very, very reflective wood. It's really dense, it's really resinous, and the sound of the instrument just kind of bounces around inside it. It doesn't eat up a lot of energy, in other words, and the result of that is a ton of sustain. I love Cocobolo. I think Cocobolo is, it gets used a fair amount. A lot of people are allergic to Cocobolo. Or if they aren't allergic to Cocobolo, they're afraid of becoming allergic to Cocobolo, which is a really unpleasant thing, apparently. I have one luthier friend in particular who will, basically die. I don't think he'll die, but he gets hives, he gets really sick. So Cocobolo is what it's a I can't remember the word for it. It's something that with overexposure tends to lead to severe allergies. And fortunately, I don't have that problem. I'm really careful. I always wear a mask and stuff when I'm sanding it. But the result is that you get to have a wood that's really similar to Brazilian rosewood, but still much more readily available. Cocobolo runs the gambit in looks. Everything from highly convoluted purple, yellow, orange, black, brick red, with incredibly beautiful grain to very straightforward quarter sawn wood. And this one's sort of nicely in the middle. This is a quarter sawn piece of wood, but it has some nice orange stuff in the middle here, going off to almost a purplish on the outside. I actually cut this myself from a board, so the sides and back came from exactly the same piece of wood. On top of that is Sitka spruce, which I've been using a lot more recently than I had been in the past. And I love Sitka. If you look back through my videos, you'll hear me say, I'm more interested in what a particular piece of wood has to offer than what species it is. And the best Sitka spruce is, it's as good as anything, really. I tend to I've been building Carpathian and Adirondack spruce are sort of my favorite spruces because it seems like it's more likely that they will have the thing that I'm really looking for. This particular piece of Sitka spruce also has it. And it's this really, first of all, it's a thing when I'm tapping the wood, when I'm exploring which of the, I don't know if you can see in the camera angle, but I have so many sets of wood over here, way too many. But I go through them and I tap them, and you hear a lot about tap tone in Lutherie, and some of it's like mojo mythological stuff, and some of it's very real. I certainly think that the top contributes by far the largest proportion of the character to the overall sound of the finished instrument than any other given aspect, maybe even more than the design. So what I look for in a spruce top is when I'm tapping it, I want a single, pure, lasting, pleasantly decaying tone. A lot of very nice looking quarter sawn spruce will give a fractured tone. In other words, you're getting like a chord rather than one particular note. I don't care what the note is, because all of that is determined by the thickness of the wood, the size of the wood. So you unless all your wood is cut to exactly the same dimensions and same thicknesses, you can't really compare them to one another. But this quality of having a single note rather than a fractured sort of chord, usually a rather dissonant sounding chord, makes all the difference. So the only wood I use is the stuff I get that single tone from. And this piece of beautiful Bearclaw Sitka had that quality. And I think it comes out in the instrument. The instrument produces a very, very pure tone. It's just like... It's just such a... It's such a rich tone. And up the neck here, there's no plinky. There's no plinky going on. Note separation, but you get this long sustain. Usually you think of note separation as being sort of mutually exclusive from having a lot of overtone load and a long sustain, right? You don't think that you're going to hear internal melodies because all of the notes are taking a long time to decay, and they're creating this sort of wash, like the sustain pedal on a piano being held down. But you still hear, like you can hear here's a line. Let's see. Every single note in those chords, when I play them decently. And yet you have, each one of those notes has like this pretty notable lifespan. That's like, I just let this ring for a while. You can hear how long it goes. Decay is not the only thing. I mean, like having cathedral-like decay is not the only quality that, I mean, like I'm not saying that just because these guitars have a lot of sustain makes them better. Like some people want a short decay instrument, and that's fine. But if you want like an orchestral sounding instrument, this thing really just gives it. I mean, I've come to the point where I love, this is what I want to play. I want to have that kind of long voice with a lot of overtone load on it. Okay, I'm blathering. Let me tell you what else about this guitar. Like most of my guitars, everything else is ebony. So the bindings are ebony, the fingerboard and the bridge are ebony. The tuners on the Schertler tuners here are ebony. I just like that look. I think anything framed in black, it goes with every single wood. It's a multi-scale, 25.4 to 24.9. The action is sweet. I set up my action at like what I would call medium, so it's 90 thousandths of an inch on the at the 12th fret on the bass string and 80 thousandths on the high string. Now that's a little bit higher than some people. I think a lot of people would tend to have maybe 20 thousandths of difference between those two strings. But I like my trebles to be a little bit higher, mainly because I can't stand the sound of strings slapping against the frets when you're playing up on the top. And that's a... No fret slap. So I'm getting a little bit higher, 10 thousandths of an inch. We're talking like a business card. It's not a whole lot, but I think it makes a big difference. I have the strong suspicion that I've gone on too long, so I'm going to stop. But anyway, here's the latest Nautilus. I'm very happy with it. By the way, I remember one thing I was going to say. You may notice that I build like the same guitars over and over and over again. There are builders out there who couldn't stand to do that. Like everything has to be an experiment, and I totally respect that. Like you want to build something new each time and just totally check the outside of the envelope. I'm more along the lines of like I found a design that I really believe in, and I just want to tweak on it. So like this guitar has a couple of little tweaks. They're very minor. I try to only tweak one thing each time, because if I tweak two things and I get a result I like, I don't know which of the two things it is that made it better. So I tweak one thing at a time. And this one has a little modification to the bracing system that I think is really successful. And so that's what gives me pleasure, is to get, like, I'm after tone, man. Like, tone is everything to me. I want playability and I want tone. But if I just go about it like sort of being, I'm not a scientist, but I understand that part of the scientific method is to not change multiple parameters at once. If you're trying to change your results, you want to do one thing at a time so that you know what it is. It's a controlled evolution. And I feel like with this guitar, which probably, I don't know how many of these I've built, but this maybe is like so I built a couple hundred guitars, 225 or something, and I think probably 70 of them now are comma series. So I've had a lot of chances, and they're getting better. That's the thing that keeps me going, keeps me happy. Okay, I really have gone on too long. I apologize. If you got this far, thank you. And next up is a Tasmanian blackwood and Carpathian spruce Nautilus that I'm really excited. It's in the spray booth. It's about 2 weeks out. I'll do a demo. I'm really excited to hear it. Thank you. Man, sometimes I wonder if I just blather. But there it is. Take care.